Hello everyone. This is part two of talking about my autism and that. This time going to be looking at employment and education. Um, so I've got a few links here. I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff and personal stuff or experience as well. Also, if you haven't watched my first video, please go back and watch my first video and then come back to this one. Because there are some things in my first video, I won't go over any of the stuff, but some of that does apply to this as well. So here the National Society does have a thing here. There's actually something I've read on their website which I am little bit disappointed in now, of what I've seen, but we'll get into that in a bit. So this is an actual bit talking about input for employers if they're employing an autistic person. So it's also talking about autistic people have some very valuable skills which can be applied in the workplace. They might have very good attention to detail or be really good at sticking to routines and timetables. Therefore, their skills are likely to be punctual and reliable. Everyone has different skills, but there's always will be something. And then obviously, what about autism, which most of you will probably already know about. If you don't know what autism is, please go to my first video and watch that, or just do some Google searching. So there is a thing here. As employers, you may not realise that autistic people can be highly skilled and qualified and may be extremely employable. There is one thing. There is discrimination against autistic people, to people that are on the autistic spectrum and to people with other disabilities like ADHD and that. Most of that discrimination comes from people having the employers, managers, and etc. having a lack of understanding. So 1 point, autistic person. There are some things. Obviously, it varies for people. High levels of concentration, reliable, blah blah blah, accuracy, close to detail, and ability to identify errors, blah blah blah. If you do want to read any of this more or anything, I will be putting the links in the description. Also, interviews. This is one thing. Traditional interviews, the way interviews are set up, the problem with interviews, a lot of them are set and work the way for non-autistic people. So, obviously, body language and that can be difficult for people on the autistic spectrum. So yeah, this is about traditional, basically traditional interviews rely heavily on social communication skills. So autistic candidates may well struggle to sell themselves in an interview, even if they have the right skills. In picture, they may face challenges with, and then there's obviously some of the stuff there. Knowing how to start making conversations. One thing that doesn't say here, it doesn't say here, but also something that should be added onto this. Some autistic people might not understand what the employer is saying because of the way they word in what they're saying. So if you're an employer, you should definitely think about how are you wording things. Are you making it clear on what you're saying to someone that is autistic, and stuff like that. You should definitely put in consideration that because you think it makes sense, it might not make sense for the autistic person, or it might come across as you being rude or something, even though you may seem like you're coming across rude, even though to you and non-autistic people it may be that you're not. And then there is about adjustments, and that some employers can do. So yeah, there is that. So from my experience, a lot of managers and that have no understanding of autism. Sometimes I have heard stupid, like, it's not stupid, but like I've heard, well, it's stupid in a way, because I've heard managers say like, oh, they've had experience because they've known someone with autism or whatever, and they still, from my perspective, they still haven't understand what autism is. Um, yeah, it's yeah. I don't think I've ever had a manager that's actually fully understand what autism is. Most of the time, it's like they know like literally a few things and then that's it. Um, so, in my opinion, workplaces and in education, employees should be, especially managers, should be trained on what autism and other hidden disabilities are like, and to give so managers have an understanding for communicating and all that sort of thing. Because also not some autistic people don't like being touched as well. You can cause you can cause pain to someone, you can cause pain to an autistic person by touching them. Um, and obviously the people on the autistic spectrum can also be overwhelmed as well, and like by too many people, because there's so many people or so many people talk to at once or whatever. Yeah. So also I'll go to the next thing, which this is more of a guide for autistic people, but yeah. So this is about helpful to have a workplace mentor. So in most workplaces you do end up, whether you're autistic or not, normally you do have someone, or you used to. I feel like there's less of that now. Right, there is something about understanding unwritten rules. So some of the stuff is offering to make someone a drink when you can make one for yourself, depending on sensitivity. So they're often could be helpful. Yeah, there's stuff like that. Obviously banter. This is another thing. I don't know if it mentions this, but obviously understanding. Some autistic people might find it difficult to understand the difference between, like, if something's banter or not. Difficulty of knowing when you're joking or if you're being serious. They can. Some autistic people do have the issues with distinguishing one from the other. So you got the thing here. This bit is about trying to start workplace banter, and this is like some topics that you could be the weather, television programs, sports, and that. And then there's this one that says about inappropriate topics for discussion. So personal comments about colleagues, critical comments about how they look. This one here, I strongly disagree with, and this is the thing. What I was talking about. This is very disappointed to see this autistic society actually have this money. How much people were earning your team. Well, it says banter. The thing is, discussing it. You should discuss. You shouldn't joke around or anything. You should literally, because it says inappropriate topics of conversation, right? You should discuss money. You should discuss what you're getting paid. Because this sort of thing about being told not, saying it's inappropriate to talk about how much you're getting paid. It's inappropriate to know what other colleagues in your all of you are getting paid, right? The thing is, that's rubbish. You have a right to discuss it, and you definitely should, because the problem with not discussing it is you could possibly be could be discriminated against because you're autistic, or because of some other disability, or because of your gender or sexuality, etc. So you should discuss it, and I think it's absolutely disgusting that this autistic society has actually put that in. Um, Especially with like, so obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, I do study economics, and we do talk about pay, and obviously in that, there are some economists that say that you should discuss your pay and that. Also, there is an article here which talks about equal pay and that. Get employees to talk about their paychecks. It says here that research shows that workplaces are more transparent. Workplaces that are more transparent about work employees' pays have narrower pay gaps. There is actually a research paper there you can read. So the thing is, if companies that or people that discourages you from talking about your pay, it's wrong, and it's wrong and disgusting, to be honest, because all it's doing is allowing businesses to discriminate against people because of their gender, their sexuality, or their disability. So it is very wrong. You have a right to discuss your pay. I did have an article. I haven't actually got it up here. I should have got it up. But businesses cannot stop you from talking about your pay, and it is very important that you do, because it's one way to tackle discrimination in the workplace. Right. So here's another. So we'll go on to the next bit. Should I tell my employee I'm autistic? Yeah. So it's obviously talking about the benefits and the risks of not disclosing. The problem is whether you disclose it or not. Then some of them are not going to have an understanding anyway. So actually, in my personal experience, it won't make much of a difference. So it's you should disclose it. You should let them know. But the issue is you may face discrimination from them. But they probably won't have an understanding of it anyway. So there's also that. There is other things. There's about bullying in the workplace. Some people don't really. A lot of people don't understand autism and other hidden disabilities. Unfortunately, autistic people get discriminated a lot, especially non-autistic. I don't know why I highlighted that. Especially hidden disabilities, because people can't clearly see that you're disabled or something. You will face discrimination. It's wrong, but unfortunately that's how it is. Right, so what did... Oh yeah, autism doesn't hold people back at work, discrimination does. So there's another article here. I haven't fully read this. Feel free to read it yourself. But yeah, there's... Yeah. What is in here? The unemployment rate for autistic people is high as 78%. In the US, the number is 85%. That's quite high. Yeah, okay, so here's something. A report from 2020 report on the UK employers sheds light on these numbers. As 50% of managers said admitted they would not hire... I can't say the word. I always struggle with this word. So, autistic candidates. Oops, I didn't mean to click on that. I'm frankly I'm not surprised. And the thing is, also, if you want to become a manager, if you want to work up, you probably will find discrimination, and you will find that a lot of managers won't move you up. You face a lot trying to get further. So also we've already talked about that. There is a thing about why autistic people can struggle in the workplace. Why masking it? Yes, a lot of autistic people do mask to try and fit in more with non-autistic people in the workplace. So yeah, so difficulty following roles. Autistic people tend to respond well to set ways of working and routines. This would appear to be a bonus in the workplace, and it can be, but the rules have to make sense. When an autistic person develops a routine that they strictly adhere to, it makes sense for them at some level. When they have to fit into a routine that someone else has developed, and these dreams seem, I don't know, I can't say that, my dyslexia. yeah, things need to make sense, especially from my experience of being on the autism spectrum. Things do need to make sense, otherwise it makes it harder to get into do it into a routine, and that I think. Difficulty dealing with change. This is a big one. It does affect me with change. I'm not good with change, and a lot of other autistic people are not very good. So yeah, autistic people can become stressed. It doesn't say here, but I would also argue that it can get irritating. You can get frustrated when things are changed, especially when it's not in your control. Yeah, and there is other stuff here. Sometimes, and sometimes people can have so some autistic people do is what's the word? Can be very sensitive to certain things as well. So things like sound or stuff like that. I can't think, and obviously emotions can be an issue for some autistic people. There is issues with communication as well that needs to be taken into account. Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, I've already said, but the main issue with workplace is the lack of understanding. Yeah, it's because it's like they expect you to be the exact same as someone that's not autistic. And I think that's the main issue. It's like the fact that you're autistic gets pushed aside because they have a lack of understanding of it. Yeah. Oh, also, actually, we'll get to a bit later. So there's also about like education. This bit is on the NHS website about advice about school if your child is autistic. Yeah, I didn't find as much information I wanted to get. I didn't find the right sort of article I was looking for, but so from my personal experience, I did get help at school and that, but it was more for dyslexia and that. I don't know how things have changed now in the UK for education and that for people with autism, but when I was at school, the main help was dyslexia and that. They're basically, far as from my memory, there was nobody had the understanding of autism and that. And I was bullied for being autistic, and that for not understanding in ways, because understanding things can be very difficult if it's like communicated in the wrong way, especially with school and also in the workplace. Sometimes the way, because there's someone I did speak to before that also has autism, had the same, was treated the same as well, is when some teachers sort of talk down to you, or they sort of talk to you like you're deaf or something, or that you need to be spoken to very, very slowly to understand. And frankly, that is a not nice to be spoken to like that. I do count it as discrimination because you're being treated wrongly. The issue is that you're probably explaining it in the wrong way, talking to us like idiots or talking down to us, and that is certainly not the way to do it. And it's disgusting that teachers do it. I don't know what it's like now, but I'm going from my personal experience of how I was treated and how I saw others get treated. There was some support there. So on a lighter side, there was some support at schools. There was like certain, I can't remember what it's called, but there'd be like a certain place you can go to, and that like they used to have something. So so during breaks and that, you had somewhere to go, and that you did have some that sort of had some sort of understanding, but a lot was more of understanding of like dyslexia and that. There was more of that than there was of autism and that. Also from like another personal experience, when going into college, UK college, it's not obviously our way our education works is different to America and that. But when I went to college and that, and even at university now, even though I've given them evidence that I am autistic, I don't really get the help that I need. There's not really much help. There is certain help out there. They can give you certain help, but some of the help that they do offer to give you won't help you, because what I can get to help me isn't helpful to me, and I can't get the help that I need in the way I need it, because it's not the education system is not set up to help, and a lot more needs to be done, frankly. Yeah. So also I wanted to go on to another bit, which is connects. It's more about autism, but no, not what it is to. I'm trying to think how to word it, but it's not specific to education and workplace, but I thought it still needed to bring brought up, because it does connect to it, but it's also not. So obviously I don't know this magazine or anything. I don't really know anything about it, but I thought it was important to show this, because I read some of this and I'm like, yeah, I know I had this. So yeah, so one of the things was so difficulty with social interactions. That is a most thing that most people know. So yeah, shyness, that is one. So social anxiety. My social anxiety, I've got social anxiety. It's mainly like being in real life around people and that I do have more social anxiety. It used to be a lot worse, my social anxiety in the past, but mine is not as bad as it used to be. But that is a very common thing with people with autism. Difficulty with self-expression, both verbal and non-verbal, or with quick processing. What other people are saying can be diagnosed as language-based learning disability. Autistic people are 5 times more likely to be picky eaters. That is true. I've always been a picky eater. Always have been. Yeah, autistic people might have a hard time connecting and relating to other people. That is true as well. Struggle with emotions and that. Yeah, this is an important one, because not all people know this, but autistic people might continue to struggle with their emotions. They may have sudden outbursts of anger or become withdrawn when overwhelmed. These emotional reactions, which are common in those with ASD. So yeah, sometimes people don't. This is one thing. If you're autistic and you have an outburst, most of the time, non-autistic people will not understand that you got overwhelmed. They'll just see you as overreacting or attention seeking or whatever. But the truth is that when an autistic person is overwhelmed, it's just you don't have control out of the outburst or whatever. You don't. The autistic person does not have control over it. It's not done for attention. It's not done for no reason. It has happened because they got overwhelmed. That's something that desperately should be understood by people. And yeah, there is a fine social interactions training. That is one thing for me, social battery. There's only so much social interaction I can have before I need to get away from everyone and recharge, so to speak. Going over like social battery and that could end up leading to an outburst or whatever it or something. There's like hypersensitive, for example, eating certain foods and that. See, for me, I'm quite sensitive to temperature, to sound. So yeah, sometimes we can be sensitive to certain things. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know please let me know in the comments about any of your personal experience with having autism yourself, about what it's been like for you, what it's like in the workplace for you, in education. So people can see your story and I can see it, because I would like to see other people's experiences with it. But yeah, but also if you haven't watched my first video, please go back and watch it. I will also put the links to these websites in the description. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.